So this one is definitely 125 proof.
Okay. This is going to taste like ethanol. Is that the tasting note I'm going to get is ethanol?
A little ethanol and oak. All right.
Good.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Yo, welcome into the show. I'm Ryan O'Leary.
And I'm Mike Zika.
And this is the Bourbon Playbook, episode 4 of the pod, by the way. We have a bourbon of the week that's going to put my lightweight ass in a body bag. And I actually can't wait. More on that later. But Zika, I literally just stuck my nose in the bottle that you brought over tonight. And I'm pretty sure my nose hair is... it's zapped. It's completely gone. My wife's going to be thrilled about that, by the way. But I feel like it's opened up. Like I can breathe. We talk about a bottle being hot. I'm a little bit nervous about the bourbon of the week. You know, again, more on that later. But you got me worried over here.
Yeah, you're in for a ride, man. I noticed a little singe mark on your mustache, too. Goes into your goatee a little bit, so...
Yeah, usually the nose hairs blend into the mustache. It's just like it's a whole thing here, but... Let's just get right into our bourbon pours of the week.
I think this week it's a little bittersweet. I would call this maybe a double shot, double pour. You know, I had a little rougher week. We had made a trip to Iowa, fortunately, but unfortunately, meeting with family and friends, but really just celebrating the passing of one of my cousins on my wife's side of the family. And just kind of celebrating his life, getting away from the big city to meet with the family. And it was a really good time. It was much needed. Just wanted to pour one out for my cousin Owen. You'll be deeply missed, my friend. And yeah, so many people love you. Great parents, great family. Can't say enough good things about him. But yeah, it was a tough week, man. But on a lighter note, the trip itself is kind of the second pour of the double shot that I'd like to get into.
Okay.
And this is where it gets a little interesting because the trip itself, like I said, great to catch up with family and friends, but the Airbnb experience was kind of off the charts from what I've been used to. The Airbnb consisted of roughly about 4 families, and 2 of those families have 8 nephews and nieces under the age of 8. So that's a very, very different environment that I'm used to.
Absolutely,
you know, here in the Vic neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, now you kind of think of a weekend, you know, with a crew like that, it'd be more, you know, arts and crafts and trading Pokemon cards and giggles. And it ended up being like a full-blown survival challenge.
WWE.
Oh, yeah. Like
Yeah,
SmackDown,
yeah.
Raw, Monday, Sunday night. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So imagine this, dude. I'm in the basement attempting to get a little sleep. You know, I got these earplugs in my ears, you know, so dense that they could ultimately be used as like a flotation device, right? Like these things they're huge. And then I got a pillow over my head. I'm prepping for a tornado like every morning, right? That I wake up over several days. And ultimately my goal is just to find some peace and quiet in this chaos of this household. Instead, every morning, I was greeted by these kids at 5 a.m. with you could say a symphony of chaos, right? Think like running and screaming, but I think at one point somebody described them as a stampede of caffeinated squirrels.
Now these are your people, right? These are your family members.
These are my and again, I love these guys. They're great.
You don't see them that often, right?
No.
They're a state over, right? So it was a pretty good drive, right? 4 or 5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, it was around probably 3.5, 4 hours to the Des Moines area there, actually Polk City, Iowa. But yeah, ultimately it was just a wild ride in general, right? You've never been in a household, for me at least, with 8 kids under 8. And I mean, by day 2, I was basically negotiating with the Airbnb host for like a soundproof bunker, right?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, that's what makes family time so special, right? Just getting to hear the little kids, watching them just feed off each other. You know, dad saying, do one thing. He says no, another little kid laughs, and then he continues to do it and disregards everything his parents are saying for the next 2 hours, right? So I'm honestly just super excited to see those little guys grow up, and I truly have a new appreciation for my brother and sister-in-laws. Each of them, I mean, they're the most genuine, amazing, patient people. I love them to pieces, and yeah, I just wanted to provide them with that second pour. This one's for them. So
yeah, so
that's my weekend, brother.
So what I'm hearing is Uncle Mike wasn't helping all that much.
Not a ton.
You were trying to hide.
Not a ton. I mean, I woke up for breakfast every morning. That was my big thing. And then I tried to kind of round the troops up, but I left the rest to mom and dad, and they did a fantastic job for what they were working with. So
yeah, you got to shout out the parents out there for sure. Pour one out for Owen, of course.
Yeah.
That's tough to hear. Owen was way too young. So, my family to yours, man, that was tough to hear for sure.
Appreciate it.
I did have your little dogs at my house.
Yeah. How did that go? Tell me about it.
It kind of goes a little bit with your story. I just wanted to pour one out for all the parents out there trying to potty train a toddler, because the wife and I, this was really our first attempt at it, right? We've been introducing that to him for months, but for some reason, we did pick the weekend where we had the Zika puppies, Rosie and Remy, in the house. So just adding to the complete chaos. If you can picture your dogs, my dog, Ollie, and a toddler wearing an oversized t-shirt, and that's it, right? Just wild and free down there.
Respect.
So we got the extra dogs. First of all, I appreciate the Weller Special Reserve, the green label, and the Glencairns.
Yeah.
My first real set of Glencairns. That was a little gift from you and your wife, and I really appreciate it. Feeling like a pro.
Well deserved.
Now with the Glencairns. Yeah. Yes, I'm feeling like a pro. My wife, Katie, still won't use one. So we actually had a bourbon. We actually broke open the Weller.
Yeah.
It was excellent. But Katie still grabbed her regular bourbon glass with the big ice cube. And she literally told me you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So hopefully this podcast can get her to start using the Glencairn. But I used mine. Just want to let you know. Just put that out there into the universe.
Respect that.
Yeah.
She'll come around, man.
She'll come around.
Take time.
I'm going to keep working on it. But your dogs are perfect angels, by the way, who now sprint across the street whenever they see us. So
that garage door goes up, and if you're outside, it's like boom, beeline, right?
They must have had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Remy was literally your pup. Remy was literally like laying on the steps waiting to be let into my house today after running across the street.
Yeah.
So they had a good time. It was probably all the edibles me and the dogs we all ate over the weekend. I think they really enjoyed those.
You gotta stop it, man. You're killing me over here. Yo, yeah. I don't know if you think the joke is over, but it's not. It's actually just starting.
Okay, but back to this situation at hand. That's 3 dogs, the Zika pups and my dog, Ollie. You got the dogs going crazy. You got the toddler running around bottomless, right? Just straight up refusing to go potty. I think parents out there who have gone through potty training, maybe going through it like we are, basically your kid's running around naked, and when he has to go, it happens when it happens, right? He'll be playing and having a good time, and all of a sudden he'll look at you with like a concerned face and be like, oh shit, I gotta pee, right? And then it's chaos. Like you're grabbing your kid, you're running down the hallway, carrying him like a football, running to it's just absolute chaos. But honestly, the pee is fine. Like that's easy to deal with. It's the pooping that's the scary part, right? Because again, there's no notice. It's the same thing. He's running around, playing, being a kid, and then all of a sudden gets really serious, stares me right in the face and goes, "Dad, I'm pooping." Right? So
there's shit everywhere! Damn it!
It's not even I have to poop. It's I'm pooping. So I'm like, oh shit, like we gotta go, right? And
literally,
picture this, like my house, like I got a kind of a narrow hallway upstairs.
Oh yeah.
My son's running down the hallway screaming, "I'm pooping."
There's shit on the windows! Oh my God!
I'm behind him chasing him. I get around the corner right near where the bathroom is, and literally there's just this perfect little turd in the middle of the hallway. It's just the kind you could pick it up with 2 fingers and it wouldn't even leave like a residue on the nice brand new light tan carpets we have in this house, right?
Yes.
You could just pick it up. It just wouldn't even leave a mark. It's just a perfect kind of little turd. So for us guys, a no wiper, right? That's what we would call a no wiper. You know it when you see it. When that comes out, you're like,
love those.
It's going to be a good day, right?
Yep.
So this was a no wiper, this perfect little turd.
Oh yeah.
Little guy right in the middle of the hallway that I have to now dodge, heading to the bathroom, chasing my kid. And I still don't know who that turd belongs to, right? I don't think it belongs to my kid because that would have had to happen really fast in the moment. And I've been changing his diapers for a few years now. Like, I've seen some horror shows opening that diaper. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was his. I don't think it was Rosie. Rosie's a perfect
Definitely
angel.
not.
She would
Definitely
never
not.
do anything like that. It could have been Ollie, my dog. Ollie has used this basement that we're in right now as his personal fucking porta potty, right? Like, he's an asshole for some reason. He cannot be trusted down here. We actually have a baby gate. It's not for my toddler, it's for him. He's not allowed to come downstairs because for some reason the basement is where he shits. And it's just not okay. It could have been Ollie, thrown off from the company, but I don't think it was Prince Ali. I think it was fucking Remy. I think you just know Remy's the devil.
She did you wrong, man.
You know what? Why would she do that to me? I think it was Remy.
Don't be fooled with that cute smile.
That perfect little turd belonged to Remy. Remy is the best, but man, she is a wild child. And she was the one, out of all the dogs, the toddler, everything this weekend, Remy was the handful. She was a wild child. I love her to death, but I'm pretty sure she shit on my carpet. So you owe me, man. You fucking owe me.
I do owe you. And if you asked any three of my cousins that have babysat her, Josh, Jack, and Joe, they would tell you that they've seen these Tootsie Rolls lurking around their house as well. So
the perfect Tootsie Roll. That's it. Okay. So it was ready. It was ready.
100% yes. And I apologize for that. That's something that she likes to, not at home. She's trained well enough at the house. She knows, like, I don't play those games anymore. But here, she thinks she's slick. She'll try to get away with one here and there. So
she did. So that's the story. Pour one out for all you parents out there trying to potty train your kid. We got through Saturday and half of Sunday before we threw in the towel. We're going to try again this weekend. But it's just, it was tough. A lot of accidents, peeing on the carpet on accident, pooping in the hallway, right? Like, just absolute chaos. So to all you people out there potty training or who have potty trained, newfound respect. And with that, I think it's time for you to put me in that body bag, right? The bourbon, the bourbon of the week. You're about to kick my ass with today's bourbon because I already smelled it.
Ooh.
What do we got?
Yeah, let's dive into it. Man, today we have...
Drum roll, please.
Cut!
Nick, snare drum. I shouldn't have to specify. Jess, that was a symbol.
Cymbals are part of the drum kit.
1792 Full Proof. It's actually a store pick from Lakeville, Minnesota. Single barrel select, hand selected by Lakeville. But yeah, today we're really going to dive into this powerhouse of a whiskey that's going to kick Ryan's ass. And I'm super excited.
It is.
With the pour of 1792. It's sitting at 125 proof, so not for the faint of heart by any means, but it's a whiskey that demands some attention. So let's break it down, man.
You were nicer to me last week with because the Michter's was like a 90, right?
Yeah. I believe, right around 90.
Yeah, and so was the Weller that you gave my wife and I. That's kind of like a perfect proof for me right now. Yeah. So this one's 125? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 125.
Okay.
125 on the nuts. So that's yeah.
I'm nervous. So first of all, it's a cool looking bottle. First of all, right? I think that's the first thing I would say, because when I held it and checked it out and then smelled it, it's definitely like an impressive looking bottle. Like there's bourbons out there like Blanton's is a big one. That's definitely one we'll cover on this show eventually. I know folks will probably be interested in that episode. So will I. I have my own personal experiences with Blanton's as a novice bourbon drinker, so yes. I can't wait for that episode. But it gives me like Blanton's vibes. Like it's a cool looking bottle. It looks cool it would look cool on your shelf. I'm imagining.
Absolutely, yeah. It's got a gold top, super sleek bottle. Just in general, I'm super excited to dive into this today. I know this one's won a few different awards, and that's kind of why I chose it. But ultimately, the most recent one. World's Best Bourbon in the World Whiskey Awards in 2020, gold medal at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. So this is one that definitely hits home. So the 1792 Full Proof Bourbon, it's a high proof whiskey by the Barton Distillery in Kentucky, in Bardstown, Kentucky. It's a part of the portfolio that they have, which is, the small batch, the 12-year, the single barrel, and the sweet wheat. Typically, you're going to see a lot of the small batch in like your Costco's. You'll even come across a couple single barrels here and there, but the full proof's a little bit harder to get along with the sweet wheat 12-year, and they have a couple others. But before we dive into the history, I thought that it would make sense to kind of take a step back and kind of unlock this scale that I use if you just were in a situation where you could only have 5 whiskeys in your cabinet, 5 bourbons, what would those consist of? I call it the E5 scale, or the essential 5, all right? And here's how I kind of classify them. And the reason I'm saying this is because we'll classify each bourbon moving forward based off of one of these 5 criterias, okay? So the first one, I call it my daily dram or my daily sipper. It's typically something that it's fairly affordable. It's something that I truly enjoy. It's got a great taste. It's something I could drink every day and not get sick of. The second one, it's always impressed my guests. This is where the 1792 Full Proof Bourbon comes in perfect. When I think of it, I look at it just in general, the decanter, the look, the taste. It's fairly unique and hard to find. That to me is something that I want to break out when I have some guests over, especially guests that have drank bourbon before and they're interested in trying new bourbons, right? The third criteria here on the E5 scale is the budget blend. In other words, the mixer. So this is typically my bottle and bond, my 100 proof, something that I can mix a cocktail myself.
Your Jimmy Beam.
My Jimmy Beam. I would go for my daily dram for some Old Tub.
There you go.
But
you'd feel awful the next day if you used Jim Beam. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
But it's so good.
It's so funny though. I actually do like Old Tub. It's super cheap, inexpensive for like a daily sipper. All the guys in my bourbon group give me shit constantly.
How dare they? Jim Beam is fantastic. Brings me back.
We'll have one of them on and we'll see what they have to say about it.
Love it. Yes, we will. By the way, go on.
Anyway, so yeah, budget blend. So it's your mixer 101. What I would recommend is, I don't know, Wild Turkey 101 or Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. Those are typically good ones where you can make a pour. You can make any type of cocktail with it for your guests, but you can also kind of enjoy a sip yourself in a Glencairn. And then the fourth criteria is I call it a Saturday night sipper. So Still Austin, one of my favorites currently. Right now they have a really good cast strength that they're putting out. And that's one that, you're not going to drink it every day, but hey, it's the weekend. I'm letting loose. I've went balls to the wall all week. I just need a little bit of time for myself, kick back and relax. For me, that's a Still Austin. I'm going to have that cast strength bourbon. And at number 5, I would call this a precious pour, not to be confused with an elite pour that PJ Fleck would probably call this beverage.
Being elite is a lifestyle and it's a choice. See, there's 5 types of people in this world. There's bad, there's average, there's good, there's excellent, and there's elite.
Who the hell is PJ Fleck? I honestly have no idea who that is. Am I an asshole?
Oh, Larry, you're in the land of 10,000 lakes, man. You're in Minnesota
He's
now.
A Minnesota guy?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll give you a clue.
I have no idea.
Row the boat.
I still have no idea.
Ski-U-Ma.
Dude, now I'm further away. Like, this is not helping me. I'm not from here, so that's not helping. Dude, right. I have no fucking clue here.
He's the head coach for the best team in the Big Ten. PJ Fleck, Minnesota Gophers.
Football? Minnesota football.
Minnesota football.
It's PJ Fleck. I did not know that. But I get beat up around here for not knowing who the football coach is.
We're not going to release this till 2025. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen.
You know what? A few weeks ago, this is a true story, actually. I drive a half hour to downtown Minneapolis to go to an actual barbershop like that.
Yes.
I just like to get my shit lined up properly by people that know what they're doing.
Yep.
And I think I saw on Google, like, Minnesota Vikings players go to this barber. So I'm like, okay, I'm in, right?
That's
this is what I want.
Done.
So I go to that barbershop. So I was there and people are talking like, oh yeah. Minnesota's playing UNC, big game. Yeah, I'm going to the game. I'm like, what do you guys mean you're going? People go to the Minnesota football game? Like, I understand your home state pride and all that, but like Minnesota football? Talk about a team, Zika. Even with the expanded playoff now in college football, do they have any shot whatsoever of ever winning anything of substance? Is there a big rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, there's several rivals, right? I mean, Little Brown Jug. We got the Battle of the Axe, right, with Wisconsin. That's the biggest thing for me. Yeah, and then the Floyd, I believe, is the Iowa battle there. But if we beat Wisconsin, that's a winning season to me. I don't care about the rest of the season per se, but being a Scotty guy myself, growing up as a huge Gophers fan, knowing that we haven't won realistically much since like the 50s.
Right, yeah.
And if you look at the win column from Wisconsin versus Minnesota over the past like 2 decades, it's embarrassing, frankly.
Yeah.
But there are a couple eras that I remember like the Lawrence Maroney era, and then there were several others.
Lawrence Maroney, drafted by my New England Patriots.
Yes, yes. Marion Barber, I believe, is another one. It was roughly a couple years apart, but yeah, man. I mean, there was a lot of good things back in the late mid 2000s, but it's been rough lately. I mean, so rough that we just paid $1.2 million to Nevada to beat them up 27-0.
Guaranteed money.
Guaranteed money.
Yep.
But hey, you know what? You come out of the locker room feeling good. You got Coach Fleck up on the chair. You're hosting it.
Elite.
But this is why you come here, because this is one of the greatest rivalries in all college football. It's going to teach you a lot of moments in your life that are really, really, really important when you have to be your best. When your family, when your wife, when your kids need you, you have to be at your best.
You just see him fist pumping, feeling good, feeling great. So yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win and get that confidence rolling into the Big Ten season. So
number 5, Precious Pour, is the PJ Fleck. Is that what we're going to call that?
We call it the Fleck. Yeah. We call it the elite pour. And this is something that, you're going to break out on a basis that's celebrating a specific event, right? So, a child being born, a friend that you haven't seen in a long time, true life events, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where I'd probably say your Rip Van Winkle, your Rip 10 or Pappy Van Winkle or whatever you have, probably your best pour. Mm-hmm. For me, it's my Rip 10. This would be the time to break that out and enjoy it and embellish in the good times and just be grateful for what you have and be ready for that next chapter in your life and put a smile on your face, right? Because you're diving into something that you probably could sell for double on the secondary, and it hurts a little bit because you're kind of throwing money down your throat a little bit in a way. So
I can't tell you, I've never owned a Precious Pour bottle yet.
Well, it's an elite pour, Ryan.
Yeah, I haven't owned a Fleck yet, so I need to I need to experience that. I love it, man. We now have our categories, our buckets. But we know right now this is a Impress My Guest episode with the 1792 Full Proof. Want to give us the history lesson?
$1792 in general, it was found in 1879, so it's one of the oldest fully operational distilleries in Bardstown. It's actually not too far away from Willett and Heaven Hill, two of the famous distilleries. 1792 is kind of a cool number because it commemorates a pivotal year in American history. It's when Kentucky officially kind of became the 15th state of the Union, which I thought was unique. So it kind of emphasizes the deep ties to the Kentucky heritage and the tradition of the bourbon production, right? So other than that, since 2009, kind of an interesting fact, Barton Brands, 1792, and the distillery have been owned by the Sazerac Company, which also owns the Buffalo Trace Distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky. So that's kind of the history on it.
I'm ready to pour this thing. You ready to do this? Let's taste this.
Let's do it, man.
I'm worried what will happen if I have two in my Glencairn here. If I have two of them, I could be in trouble.
Well, I just cracked it, so we got enough for 3 if you're daring.
Okay. I did see, this is not one that you have prepped, right? This is not one that's been sitting on your shelf because I literally saw you like wrap the plastic off it when you got here. So
yeah.
First of all, you're an a-hole for that.
So this one is definitely 125 proof.
Okay. This is going to taste like ethanol. Is that the tasting note I'm going to get is ethanol?
A little ethanol and oak. All right.
Good.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh, that was good this week. I like that.
Pop. That's good pop.
Love it.
That should hold you over for the next couple minutes.
Yeah, that's easily 2 fingers right there. Just to be fully transparent with the listener, I do have some water in my Glencairn.
Correct.
With this bourbon to kind of cool it off a little bit because again, Zika did not let this burn at all. He didn't let the ethanol burn off. So drinking a little bit of gasoline here. Would you recommend a Kentucky Chew if you open up a lightning hot bottle like this?
Absolutely. And with a bottle like this, 125 proof, you can definitely drink it neat. I'm going to drink it neat. I wouldn't mind a little splash of water, or even, an ice cube to kind of soften the edge. But ultimately, this is something that you want to taste those deeper flavors. So that's why I like it room temperature for me personally. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I wouldn't mind a little dash of water. So I might come back to your little water trick that you got going on over there.
Well, you taught me that. So
yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, I think before I even, get into the tasting notes, it's important to know like what a full proof actually means, because there's a lot of different types of bourbons out there that have different titles, right? So for instance, a full proof bourbon is often referred to as barrel proof or cask strength, which is a bourbon that is being bottled without being diluted after aging. All right. So this specific gem in general, this has been the same proof as it entered the barrel as it is coming out. So no water after the maturation process, which is basically a way of saying you're getting the exact concentrated brown juice right from the actual cask or barrel right into your glass. So if you literally took a screwdriver and stuck it in the barrel and pulled it out and a bunch of juice started flowing out because there's a hole in it,
right?
That's exactly what you'd be drinking if you had a cup, filling that cup full of the juice coming out like a shipwreck, right?
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, but all right, now that I burned my nose hairs off earlier, so I'm now going to shove my nose into the Glencairn here and take a whiff of this. We've had the cap off for probably an hour at this point, right? So let's see if it's changed at all.
I highly doubt it.
No. Wow. So this is the first bourbon we've done that if you shove your nose in the glass and take in a big whiff, you almost can't do it. For me, I have to stop mid inhale, right? Like I have to.
Yeah. I typically drive my nose to the bottom of the cup.
Can't do it with this.
This one's tough. I will say it does, you get your typical caramel vanilla kind of on the nose and oak. I know this one's going to be a little bit more spicy.
Yeah,
which I do kind of smell.
It's quick, right? You get it right away, and then it's so hot that it like chases it down it chases it up your nose a little bit, and it like kind of it goes away. But at first, you can kind of feel it as it's coming up the nose.
Yep,
I do get that.
You got to kind of pull your nose back a little bit.
Yeah,
instead of going deep in.
Yeah,
there.
if you go deep in there, you're not getting much, but pain.
Yeah, pain and regret. Yeah, let's take a sip, man. Let's give it a little chew.
Let's do it.
Let's see what's up. Definitely a long and warm finish with spice on the end, but right off the front of my tongue, I get a lot of caramel and vanilla and almost some dark fruits as well. And as I swallow it, obviously it's still hot for me. This is like my third sip, and it's staying on the back of my tongue for like 10 to 15 seconds, which is typically a longer finish.
This one, you mentioned room temperature, and that's how you like it. This one there's something about it. It just feels warmer to me than the other bourbons. I don't know if that's just me being a mental case right now, but it's a little bit of a warmer taste.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's...
Is that just me taking one sip and being completely off my rocker already? Like, am I halfway in the bag? I might be.
I think it's the extra 25 proof.
Yeah, I think it is. It's like
knocking on your door.
This is warmer today. Is this warmer? I'm sweating. I think that's what it is. Yeah, guys, this is not good. This is not going well already. I got to try to pick up one of these notes.
Just think about the front of your tongue to the middle of your tongue to the back of your tongue, doing the Kentucky chew, and then swallowing it. And then after you swallow, you should be able to taste some notes kind of on the back of your tongue as well. And those are typically going to be more like the spices.
Definitely sweet and spicy. Sweet and spice. That's what I'm getting. Nothing's really popping out to me as like, oh, I'm definitely tasting caramel or something. But I think it's because it's so hot. It's just so much spice that I'm picking up. But I actually love a spicy bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
This one is more aggressive. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely more aggressive. Not in a bad way, though. It's definitely more drinkable than I expected. I did come in here feeling like a little biatch.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous about this one when you brought in the bottle and I saw the 125. I was like, okay, 90 goes down well, but what is this? But it's really not that much bigger of a punch, really. It's just like a little bit more spice for me is what I'm picking up. But it's definitely more drinkable than I thought.
100%. And I think the biggest thing with this is the overall characteristics, the aroma, the flavor, especially from the front of your tongue to the mid of your tongue to the back of your tongue, and then just how long that finish is something that is cherished by people that truly enjoy bourbon. Like the higher proof bourbons, this is typically where it goes. Yeah, it's a lot hotter, but you can dilute it a little bit, right? You can burn off that ethanol and then ultimately really enjoy a good pour with a long finish with a lot of different flavors going on. And for this, I get a lot more flavors that are coming out on my palate compared to like the Heaven Hill or any of the other 100 proof bourbons that we've had or 90 proof bourbons, just because it's such a high proof and it's been barreled. I believe this one's roughly 8 to 9 years, except they don't specifically say how long it's been aged, but ultimately this to me is a great bourbon that if I was to have somebody over that likes to enjoy bourbons, especially on the higher proof side, this is one that I'd welcome them with open arms and be like, hey, here's a 125 proof full proof bourbon that I think is pretty good. It's a store pick from Lakeville. It's an excellent pour, right? So although it's really hot and it's kind of hard to comprehend those notes, this is one that definitely has a longer finish. And it's very complex, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely feel the longer finish. It definitely sits on your tongue longer. I'm definitely catching that. Question, I walk through my local liquor store. I walk down, like what sets this apart from another 125 proof? Like could I impress my guests with any 125? Or what sets 1792 apart in your opinion? Why would this be so impressive? Compared to like another bottle that has 125, like should I just buy a high proof bourbon to impress my friends?
If your friends are into bourbon, quote unquote, AKA Buffalo Trace is the best bourbon ever.
Blanton's.
Oh yeah, name another one. Buffalo Trace is the best bourbon ever. I wouldn't go with 125 proof.
I can't wait for our Buffalo Trace episode.
I know.
And our Blanton's one.
I know.
Because I kind of know where this is going.
Same, right?
It's going to be painful for me because I'm so that guy. It's like, wait, you have Buffalo Trace? Crack that open. It's going to be a night.
Yeah. Let's go.
I got you. So you're saying when I have friends over, I have a buddy. His name is also Ryan, but we call him Big Man. We can't have two Ryans around. It's just too confusing.
Ever.
So I actually don't know if he drinks like really nice bourbon or not, but I know he's into it. And every time I see him, he's got a bottle of brown juice with him and he brings it around with him. If, back when I was in New Hampshire, yo, Big Man, you want to come over for the Bruins playoff game? He'd show up with a bottle of bourbon and he would offer you some, and often he'd just leave the bottle at your house. But my guy Big Man would be into the bourbon, so I don't think he'd be really impressed by a Buffalo Trace. Let's put it that way. He might be more into it. So answer the fucking question, Zika. All right, what would set this apart from the random 125 proof bottle I could find at the liquor store?
First off, I wouldn't, unless he was really into bourbon, I would never recommend anything over like 100, 109 proof.
Okay, but this is hypothetical anyway.
Hypothetical.
This is a hypothetical. What if you had a guy, Big Man's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
What if you had a guy who's really into bourbon? What sets it apart? Why are you dodging this question? Has the 1792 gotten to you already?
Indeed it has.
Yes, it has. It has. These are two rosy-cheeked motherfuckers talking right now on this podcast, and it's excellent.
All right. So here's my thought process. If I'm having one of my homies over that's into bourbon, enjoys bourbon, knows enough about, the top 3 to 5 distilleries in Kentucky, maybe he's been on the bourbon trail.
Hold on a second. This is the first time you've ever gotten snobby about it. You're getting snobby right now. So this bourbon that we're drinking right now, this bourbon that we're drinking right now, you only bring out for a guy in your group.
Yes.
So why is this not a precious pour then? Why is this not a fleck? There's a lot of camaraderie in our neighborhood. Like random dudes are going to come in. Like I feel like you'd pour this for neighbor Zach. You'd pour this for my ass when you just met me. You would. No, but you didn't though.
I would.
You would, but you didn't.
I know the first time that somebody poured this for me, and I was like,
you had a good night. Yeah.
That's a short-lived night. And here's the thing. If you have a couple of these, you can't chew gum and walk straight.
Yeah. This is an aggressive bourbon. 3
or 4 pours. So it's like, if I'm going to start off on something, I'm usually going to go like a 90 proof, right? Just in general. Anytime you go 125, your palate's going to be so charred from the ethanol that it's going to be hard to bounce back to any 90 proof. So if we opened up this, this even the single barrel right now, 101 proof Wild Turkey, you wouldn't be able to taste half of those notes just because your palate is so consumed with 120 proof bourbon right now. So for me, it's not something I'd ever just break out for anybody. It's more or less something where I have some people over, we have a bourbon night, we're getting into the 90 proofs, we get into maybe 109 proofs, 110. And then from there, it's like, all right, what do we want for a nightcap? AKA, I'm about to bounce. My girl's driving.
I'm walking home or driving. Yeah. The girl's driving. Yeah.
And let's call it. And I'm like, all right, have you tried 1792? Here are the notes. Here's what I think. I think it's a pretty solid pour. I'll put a couple dabs of water in it, open it up a little bit for you, and then send you on your way, right? So that's my interpretation of.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it is a Saturday night sipper. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a precious pour.
But we also called this the impress our guests.
Fuck.
I love desk.
Brick, are you just looking at things in the office and saying that you love them?
I love lamp.
Do you really love the lamp, or are you just saying it because you saw it?
I love lamp. I love lamp.
So, big man, if you're listening, here's what I got for you. You come to my house, all right? You're into bourbon a little bit, it sounds like little Ryan says.
Yeah, but Zika's going to be kind of a snob about it and not break out the good stuff right away.
I would never. I'm always open to share.
You are. You're
for
great.
The most part.
You're now I know we're at the Zika household. There's it was a Minnesota Timberwolves playoff game party or whatever we were doing at your house. And you're just like, kind of very quietly walk over to the boys and are like, hey guys, you want a bourbon? We head down to your little nook downstairs in the basement. Now I know you were holding out on us a little bit. You were like, oh, these Girl Scouts, I gotta take it easy on these boys since they're walking 45 feet back to their house across the street, which is literally my situation.
Yes.
So now I know you were being gentle with us.
Gentle is the right word.
You were taking, and I can't remember what bourbon you poured me the first time I came over your house, but I now know it was not 125. And whatever you poured me, you did put a dab of water in it too. So I now get you were taking care of us. It was all coming from a spot of love, but also a hint of snobbiness. Like you were not trying to give us the best stuff.
Listen, I wasn't trying to take you on a roller coaster.
That's what we were there for.
You and your
man.
wife's sake. All right. No, honestly, I think we had a Weller night. I think we broke out.
I think it was Blanton's actually.
Oh yeah,
you definitely poured Katie some Blanton's.
Yes,
that night.
So that was Blanton's Special Reserve, and then 107. I think we broke out. That was a great night. Anyway, big man. So listen, you're on my porch. I welcome you in. Mm-hmm. You asked me to come down. Hey, let's check out the Bourbon Cave. You come down, you look at a couple bourbons, and you say, hey, where should we start? In my opinion, what I'm on to right now is this brand called, a distillery called Still Austin. So out of Austin, Texas, obviously. Really, they just became accessible or allocated to Minneapolis, Minnesota here the past year, which I've been waiting for a long time because I've always kind of liked their bourbon. But now that it's accessible, I love it. So anything in their line, they even have a good rye, but I would kind of start at the bottom, right? Start with the Still Austin bourbon and then work my way up from that 90 proof up to the, I think it's 118 to 124 proof. And that's where I'd kind of end the night, to be honest. I'd be going back and forth between those. It's a good balance between just an overall solid bourbon on the flavor profile of what you'd expect. And then, especially with the cast strength, it's a lot longer finish. You're getting a lot of different notes that you typically don't get from a lot of the different distilleries. And for me, it's one of my favorite that I've been drinking lately. So yeah, big man, that's a trip.
Still Austin. Okay. I just pulled out my phone and put it in my notes. So I'm going to go check out Still Austin now because we haven't done that one yet. Yeah. And I'll have to go find that. So tell me the difference again, and we can sign off on this because this one's going off the rails a little bit as we get just kind of smashed off to 1792. And you gave me a good pour, and I'm pretty much through.
Yeah, you're beating me, and I had a true two.
Yeah,
you had like a 3.
Yeah, it's good.
4, 7.
It goes down well, especially after you burn a little bit early.
Yeah,
then it starts going down like like liquid gold.
It should be a really long finish on the back of your tongue, though.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that's.
I should be experiencing it more than I am, but really I'm just getting hammered over here, which is awesome.
Right.
I'm still having a little bit of a hard time, Zika, and let's end with this. I'm having a hard time differentiating between the impress my guest and the precious pour. So I want to make sure we have our buckets right, because you are holding out on the 1792. Like you're that is a precious pour for only a certain guest. You're not breaking that out for any guest. It's a particular guest. So what's the difference between impress my guest and precious pour? Because like we're going back to PJ Fleck here, that whole conversation. I'm not sure I'm quite getting the difference. There should be a distinct difference here, but it feels to me, when you talk 1792, it feels to me like a precious pour.
I think that you have a valid point. After going through this thought process, the reason I chose this to impress my guests in the first place was simply the fact that it's something that looks and tastes good, and it's fairly unique to find. Although I wouldn't necessarily break this out for just anybody. The only way I'd break this out for impress my guest is if I have a bourbon drinker that comes over that knows his shit, right?
Yeah.
That's gone over that 110, 120 proof, that knows what Stag is, that knows what Stag Junior, that knows the batches of seed, 923 or whatever it may be of the different blends. I think that this one would be something that might fall under that precious pour just because of the proof. So if this was, for instance, 1792 single barrel or bottled in bond, let's say, at that 100 proof, this would be impress my guest because of the look. I still think the taste is fantastic if you get a really good store pick. There's a lot of good store picks that have come out, and it's fairly unique. And so the bottle and bond is fairly unique to find. That would be impress my guest. After further discussion of Question Master Ryan over here,
I'm coming after you, man.
I might take a little detour and put this under precious pour just because of the 125 proof, now that I think about it.
But let me talk you out of that now. Now again, so this is my background in journalism. I'm used to interviewing people, so I apologize.
No, this is good.
But I might be answering my own question now because I understand that the proof is high, so you don't want to give that to your unexperienced bourbon drinker. I get that because they're going to walk out of your house wobbling. Totally get that. The price point. Have you broken down the price point of this yet? What was it? Just refresh my memory.
Yeah, so the price point's fairly affordable. It's $45 to $55.
Can that be a precious pour? Can a bourbon I can buy for $55 or less than 60, let's call it, is that really a precious pour? Because again, you mentioned it earlier. Like I picture that being your pappy, like your top of the line, the precious pour, like you just got a new degree, you like some big life event. We're popping this bottle. That's what I picture for my precious pour. So maybe I'm answering my own question by asking you about the price point because I knew it wasn't that expensive of a bottle. Because I've seen 1792 you can go to your liquor store and buy. Like it's there.
The small batch for sure, like the brown ribbon. Yeah.
So like can a bourbon less than $60 fall into category 5 precious pour?
I would say there's a specific bourbon in my mind right now. There's a barrel bourbon that is a store pick that you'll never really be able to find again. That comes to mind. That is a precious pour. That's probably $80, $85 a bottle. Outside of that, I think this would actually probably fall under, after thinking about it, that Saturday night sipper. Because it is something that you will come across. There will be another store pick fairly similar to this one. And it's something that's unique, yes, but ultimately something that I'm going to break out because I enjoy it at 125 proof for a Saturday night.
That makes way more sense to me. Just me sitting in this chair, grilling you with questions like, why is this an impress my guest if I'm not going to share it with every guest that comes over? You know what I mean? So I almost feel like the impress my guest is a bourbon that's not going to kill them. Like this one is currently killing me now that I've finished my Glencairn and it's now empty. I think that's a better category. So I don't think it's a precious pour. I think it's a Saturday night sipper. But I love the categories, by the way. I think this is a great way to do it. And it's a great way to break it down. Saturday night sipper, I'm with you. I think that's exactly what this is. It's something that Zika would sit down in the cave, in the chair, contemplating life,
listening to K-Fan,
looking at your Vikings pennants, where you got your autographs as a nerdy little kid getting your autographs at training camp, which I have them too.
Warren Moon, Chris Carter.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't. They're at my mother's house in her basement somewhere. I don't have them with me. I gotta get them. But I have the same pennants too with the autographs. It's so funny. They're just dorky Patriots names instead of Vikings names. But yeah, I have it too. The 1792 full proof would be you on your couch by yourself. You're not sharing this with the random guest. It would have to be a special guest. So in that regard, I do think this is a Saturday night sipper. I think I've talked you into it, like the a-hole that I am. I'm sorry.
No, it's perfect. The Q&A, I mean, it gets the gears turning, right? So I think the way that we've kind of broken this down tonight is understanding that a precious pour is not only the quality and price point of a bourbon that makes it go into that category, right? That fits into that category versus the Saturday night sipper, something that's typically something that maybe is a little bit harder to find, but more unique and higher proof, something that I truly enjoy that most others that aren't into bourbon probably wouldn't want to come over in my dungeon, my bourbon cave, and start off with for the night, right? It's definitely one that is going to put a little hair on your chest, right?
Yeah.
It's going to burn the nostrils a little bit.
Yes.
And that's something that I'd probably, outside of you, put a couple dabs of water in it. Never put a cube in it, although, again, a lot of people do, which is fine. But I definitely like to open this one up and have, 2 or 3 pours and just enjoy my night, right? Whether I'm grilling, I'm hanging out, or just kind of, enjoying my time.
Yeah, usually when I'm grilling, I'm drinking a beer.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking 125 proof bourbon. But yeah, that's the difference between me. You're a much manlier man than I am.
Don't say that.
You're a little manlier. Let's be honest. You're out there edging your driveway once again. You're always out there edging. That's manly
man.
stuff. Once a week you edge?
Once a week.
Do you really need to edge that often?
You'd be surprised how quick grass grows. It's kind of like my hair, man. It's ridiculous.
I love it. Have you talked mash bill with this yet?
No, so it's funny. So I was looking into the mash bill and the aging process, and this specific bourbon, just in general, 1792 doesn't release that. So there's no specific aging process. I know they typically mature their barrels 8 to 9 years within their oak barrels, and then the mash bill, it's not publicly disclosed, but it's ultimately a high rye bourbon, and which ultimately gives it that spicy and kind of bold flavor profile and that longer finish. So, I mean, if you're looking for something that's rich, intense, obviously award-winning, 1792 full proof should definitely be next on your list if you can find it.
I love it, man. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of the Bourbon Playbook podcast. We've savored every drop of the 1792 single barrel and still managed somehow to keep our story straight.
And until next time, remember, if you can't remember what we've talked about, you're probably doing it right. Cheers, and keep playing with your bourbon.
Cheers.
Being elite is a lifestyle and it's a choice. See, there's 5 types of people in this world. There's bad, there's average, there's good, there's excellent, and there's elite. And the problem with excellent is that's a standard of excellence. A lot of people want to be excellent. We want to even separate ourselves from that. See, the Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Green Berets, they all call themselves an elite fighting force. They're different from everybody else. That's what we want to be able to accomplish with our student athletes on a daily basis in all 4 areas of their life: academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually. You see, when you are elite, there's 3 phases to that. There's a necktie mentality, a Prefontaine pace, and a farmer's alliance. The necktie mentality is always attacking, never full. A great white shark is the ultimate symbol of the ultimate necktie. It's always attacking. It's never full. It can grab a seal in its mouth, get 25 feet in the air, get parallel, come back down into the sea. It never sits there and says, you know what, I'm full, I'm good, I'm not going to attack anything else. We want to attack everything in our life, and we want to be different. The Prefontaine pace is we want to attack everything with an urgent pace. We want to do it now. There's a lot of procrastinators in this world. We don't want to be one of them. We want to separate ourselves apart from everybody else because of the type of work we do, the urgency and the efficiency that we do it with. And the last part is the Farmers Alliance. The Farmers Alliance is the trust part of our organization. 100% honesty all the time. You see, there's 2 parts of lying, and a lot of people and a lot of human beings are really good at these 2 things. There's omission and commission. Omission is really kind of omitting some of the truth and then giving me some of the truth, omitting some of the truth, giving you some of the truth. Either way, it's flat out lying. Same with commission. That just means you completely lie. You have to be 100% honest within our culture, within our walls all the time. That's how our family continues to connect, and we continue to connect people. If you do those 3 things, you are going to have an elite lifestyle: a necktie mentality, a Prefontaine pace, and a Farmers Alliance.